Welcome to our Art of Advocacy weekly show. I am Charmaine Tanner from Collaborative Special Education Advocacy, and we do a weekly show for parents, advocates. We also welcome educators, and we talk about how we can make the school experience for our kids even more positive, because we want to make sure that they're learning beside their friends each day in school. So we have a variety of topics. Today, I'm excited because I love to learn new ways to be more productive and work smarter, not harder, right? So today we're lucky because we have Melissa Amster from Los Angeles as our guest. And Melissa is a native of Los Angeles, and she went to Southwestern Law School there. She is a mother of 5 children. Her youngest child has Down syndrome. She passed her bar exam in 2001, and she was practicing in business litigation until she noticed the difficulties of advocating for your child with disabilities. So she switched, and she is now a special education law attorney for families. She has her own firm, Amster Law Firm in Los Angeles, and she helps families get the appropriate supports they need with the Regional Center and IHSS. And if you're from California, I'm assuming you know what that acronym is. But Melissa is going to be helping us learn this free app called OneNote, and you might have heard of it before, but it's a wonderful way to electronically on your computer, your phone, your iPad, to organize things. And you can use it for a lot of purposes. The one that Melissa's going to be talking about today is using it to help organize all those reports and emails and everything we get. So Melissa, welcome to our show. I know this is going to be a great learning experience for all of us.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you for the introduction. You did nail it on the head. Yes, I was practicing attorney until my daughter was born. And I started advocating for her, and I realized this is really hard. And if it's hard for me, it's hard for other people. So, I slowly got into it, and now I'm very happy to own my own firm and be able to help families with special education and regional center and IHSS, as you said, mostly regional center. I go to a lot of IEPs, and I go to a lot of mediations and some hearings. And through putting my firm together, I did look at different ways of organizing documents and how to work on things. And I really found a OneNote to be an excellent helper with this. Now, I use OneNote on my Surface Pro, Microsoft Surface Pro computer, and that is a really nice coupling together. I use it with my my Surface Pro pen. Let's see, I've got to get it in front of the camera, but it's not so intuitive. And there are, a number of different computers and the iPad that have pens or pencils, whatever they call them. And this is nice. It has a point at the end and has an eraser at the top. And I use that to annotate my documents in OneNote. So that's sort of my setup. And then the other introductory statement is that I will be showing you what's called OneNote. Let me tell you the exact name. It's UWP, or United Windows Program, I believe it's called. So there was, and it's part of the Microsoft 365 package of apps, including Word and Outlook, etc., Excel, but it also is available as a free download. And in this free download, it's you can just search for it. I'm sure Charmaine will includes some links on download it, and you get, I think, 5 gigabytes of free storage, which is quite a bit. And then there's some fairly affordable plans to buy more storage if you need it. But before the, let's say, the UWP, the United Windows app, there was a OneNote 216, which was a downloaded program. It's a little bit of different format, and it has a little bit different capacities, but Windows is going to this United Windows program. And so I've sort of adopted it, and I think it's best that if I show you that today. So, and then again, last little disclaimer, as an attorney, I'm going to be here on just discussing how to use this OneNote and not to be giving legal advice. So that being said, I think I will share my screen. I will go through how I set up OneNote for, let's say, an IEP or a new client or whatever the case may be.
All right, let's see if I go. So then do you want to go to your email?
Yeah, here, I'll start here. So this is what OneNote looks like. This is what my OneNote, let's see. This is what my OneNote looks like when I open it. I have a personal notebook. This is my firm notebook, ALF, Amster Law Firm, and then this is a Sally student notebook that I put together that we can talk about. But I'm going to show you from the beginning on how to open up a new notebook, and then how I'd like to organize it. You know, for your own child, you could have one notebook for just IEPs, or you could have one notebook for each IEP. You know, the ways to customize it are endless. The nice thing about OneNote, a little bit different than, let's say, Evernote, is that things are organized into notebooks, section, and notes or pages. So it's really a nice way, a conceptual way to think about it. Like the old 3-ring binders can become your OneNote folders or OneNote notebooks. So it's a really nice way to think about and organize it. So right here, I am going to start a new notebook right now so you can see how it's done. Right here, I can add a notebook. Oops, that's the wrong one. And the nice thing about, here it is. The nice thing about it is it's such a big used program. If I don't know how to do something, I just go over to YouTube and I Google and I can figure out how to do it. So let's say the name of our new student is Sam Student, and we want to make new sections. You know, the possibilities are endless. You can make one section for the IEP last year and the one section for the IEP coming up. You can have one section for all the assessments and another section or section for all your assessments, you know, and all your IEPs. There's you know, the ways to organize are you know, are endless. So let's say I'll do IEP 2017, and then I'll do another section for IEP 2018. I can do a section for notes and emails. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's one way to do it. So as you can see here is that here's my Sam the student, here's my section of the 2017 IEP, the 2018 IEP, and the notes and emails. Now, inside each section, you can have as many pages as you want. And you can see that here. And a page some of the things you can do on a page is that you can take your pen that I talked about before. I'm just going to write notes here, and I can actually write on the page with my pen. These are my notes. Now, I don't have the best handwriting, and I don't have the best handwriting on the on OneNote, but let's just see if this will work. Let me see. I didn't try this out before, but this can actually change my handwriting into text.
Oh, huh.
if I can figure, I never do it because I'm a much quicker typer than. Oh, I know. I should have tested that out. Well, nonetheless, you can change. Oh, here it is. I think ink to text. It's right there. Let's see. Do I have to highlight? No. It's. I didn't test it. Oh, here we go. Here's my ink to text. Oh, maybe I need to make it bigger. Maybe ink to test. Oh no, that's not it. But you can change your. I just don't do it.
Yeah, and that could be one of those things that we just Google on YouTube, you know?
Yeah, I just don't do it because
Right.
but you could take as many notes as you wanted with your pen, and it does work. I just don't do it. I've forgotten how to do it. So the next question, the next thing is, how do I get my information into OneNote? The way I often will do it is I go to my email inbox, and here are some emails that Charmaine sent me, and she sent me some sample sample IEPs. So let's say, the school sends you an IEP and you have it here in your email, and you want to put it into OneNote. So all I do is I just click on I'm in Gmail, and I'm sure it works similarly in, other email programs, but I click it on it, and basically anywhere in Windows or anywhere in your computer, you can print to OneNote. So I go to my print button and I press print, and I get my screen here. And the option that I will select to print to is OneNote. It's just loading here. And you will see that we can print right to OneNote. You see right here, destination OneNote, and it's 11 pieces of paper, and I'm going to print that. And it'll take a few seconds, but it's going through the computer or wherever it goes, and it's going to be going over to OneNote. And when I get to OneNote, when it gets over into OneNote, I'm going to be able to select exactly where I want it to go. And if you can see, OneNote's blinking down here, and it's pulled up this box, and they're asking me, do I want it to go into the current section of IEP 2017? So let's say that's correct, where we want it. I can just print it right there. And so
when you say print, Melissa, that means like it's kind of copying and pasting it into OneNote. Is that right?
No, it's just like a print function, like as if you would plugged in your printer and spit out a piece of paper.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to my email, and I got that one email. Let's say Charmaine's email to me had some really important information that I wanted to have in front of me at the IEP. So right here, up in the right corner, there's a print all. So I can print this email over to OneNote. So I'm going to press. Well, actually, before I print it, I want to show you a really other nice feature, is that I actually don't have to print the whole email or the whole document. So I'm looking here. Here's Charmaine's email, but the second page doesn't have any information I need, and it's just redundant, and it's just her smiling face. So let's say I just want the first page. I can go over and I can select what particular page I want to print to OneNote, just like you can select a certain page to print when you plug your printer in. So pages here, I want custom, and I actually just want page number 1 because that has the information. So I send over to OneNote, and OneNote's flashing again, and then I can select where I want to put it. But I'll show you. I actually, if you remember at the beginning, I made a section for notes and emails. So since this is a note or an email, I want it to go over to the note and email section. So what I will do is I'm going to go, I have if you remember, we made Sam student. So I'm going to go into that notebook, and I see the section that says notes and email. I'm going to select that section and press OK. And then, so here is Charmaine's email. And then if we go back over here, we have the IEP. And once we get the IEP here, we can title it whatever we want, IEP 2017. And here's Charmaine's email. It just says print out, but I might want to say email from teacher re IEP goals, whatever the case may be. And I put this here. This should, so look, I have this notes here where I started over in the 2017 email. I don't want the notes there. I actually want to move it over to my notes and emails. So I can just drag it and pull it over there. And let's say I want my notes at the top of that list and the email from the teacher at the bottom of the list. So you can actually just drag and move each of these things in the order that you want. And so this is, and okay, so that's not, there's other ways of getting information into OneNote. There's probably more. I'm going to show you at least 3. There's probably more. So let's say I want another assessment or email in this section. So I'm going to add a page, and it's untitled, and I go over here to insert. We have a table, we have a file, we have printout, we have pictures, we have a video, we have a link, audio, we have a lot of different options. I'm going to pick a file. I'm going to go into my computer, and I have some samples here. And here's an academic report. So I'm going to press open, and it tells me how I want to do it. You can just insert the link, or you can actually insert the printout. I want to see the printout because I actually want to see it on my screen. And then whoops, my OneNote crashed.
That's what happens on life.
That's life. But here it looks like it's still, there's my academic assessment. And so I'll tell you, it doesn't happen so often. That doesn't happen so often, thank goodness, because I use OneNote quite a bit. Let me delete that page, and let's try it again. Who knows, maybe it was the actual something wrong with that file. Let me pick a different file. So here's a PT assessment, and I'm going to insert it as a printout. And it takes a minute, but we will have this PT assessment here.
Yeah, and for our live viewers, say hi so we can welcome you. Melissa Amster is demonstrating how we're using OneNote. And then in a bit, Melissa, if you can kind of give an example of when you're at an IEP meeting and a question comes up and how you can access things, because I think that's the magic.
That's the magic. Okay, so it's, for some reason, it doesn't seem to want to work for me right now, but let me tell you, it works all the time. I'll just do the third way of getting in documents is actually, you can have your page, you can actually go and you can just grab your file, take it over to OneNote, and just drop it in.
Oh, cool.
So same idea. So let me, as soon as this sort of goes in, we'll get to some of the meat of what, let me just look. And then another way to get things into our OneNote. So maybe some of our advanced users, there are different, I'm just going to cancel this because we don't need it right now. There's different ways to do it, including if you've ever heard of Zapier or this, then that. You can actually, in Gmail or different programs, you can actually add labels and they'll send the emails over. That might be a little bit more advanced than what we have today, but there's really many more ways of getting information into OneNote. So I will, from there, let me show you how I use it on the ground. What I do, and here's a Sally student, okay? We were at Sam student, now we're in Sally student. And let's say I'm going to the May 2019 IEP. So I want to review and see what happened at the 2018 IEP. And so here I see, and let's say I went to this IEP. Let's see, did I write in here? So what I do before my IEP is I use my pen on all my documents and make my notes. So here is a psychoeducational assessment here. And you can see I highlight and I write like small notes to myself about this. Right here it says, Miss Smith had reviewed the, Jimmy was referred to the problem-solving team by his teacher, Miss Smith, due to concerns he had about reading performance. My questions are when, and when was there when was the first time you saw a problem, right? So we want to know that information. We go down here. I have some other notes. Here's the actual performance expected, and I wrote wow, right? Because he's getting zeros and ones, and he's 16. And so this is, this is how I write my notes, right? I'm a little bit snarky, right? So I said, really? Like, really? They didn't do anything wrong? Right? Those are some of my my notes, and I like to keep running notes. And I have a touch screen, so I'm just scrolling with my finger down, looking at my notes. Here's the actual IEP, let's say. And you can see some of my notes that my pretend notes I put into this IEP here. I like the dates, and then I remember seeing some things in here that I thought were interesting, like extended school year services. Again, I wrote really, and then here it says Julian does not need assistive technology. Really? Did they really discuss this? That's always I want to know. Here in this section it says Julian will participate in all generated classes with support personnel. I want to know what support, who. So I have all these little notes that you might take on the actual document that are all in OneNote, and they're all at the touch of my finger.
Right. And Marguerite is on with us, and she wondered if it works on Chromebook. Do you know if OneNote works for Chromebook?
Yeah, it should work in Chromebook because it's you can go into it from a browser. Yes. Okay. And then I wanted to show you. So that is, let's say, the 2019 IEP. Now this is me getting ready for the 2019 IEP. So look, right, even before the IEP, we got a prior written notice letter. So I have that here. I have it. These are actually some of my own documents for my own child. I took out some names. I have, like, again, really, and here is, let's see, there's an outside progress report that I have in here. This is from a third party, not from the school, but I want to have this progress report in front of me during the IEP, because if they say, let's see, let me look and see if I can find something really interesting. That's fasteners. What would be a school-based goal? So these were, whatever the case may be, it's like they say, oh, she needs help in the bathroom. And so oh no, but the OT says that she can actually pull up her pants or something, or
Right. Right.
something like that. Here is before the IEP. These are the OT had sent me goals. So here's some of my information. It says she can do it on the goal. Proposed goal is at 1 inch of the line that she'll cut. So I want to know if she could do it at 1/4 of the line. And they said that she will use a tripod or a quadrupod grasp. And I say, well, either, is that vague? Right. And then here they have trace your name. And I said, well, maybe how about using dots? So all of these notes I have done beforehand. So right when we get into the IEP, the OT is about to discuss her goals. And I say, oh, I have a few questions. Here's the PT assessment that I had put into here. This was a funny one where they, blame everything on the Down syndrome, everything on the, what is it? What did she write again? She kept writing, consistent with diagnosis, right? So we have that here. I wrote frustrating, and then again, consistent with not again, right? Why do we have to keep talking about this, consistent with diagnosis? And when I was in the IEP, I had to make I have to make a question whether or not I'm going to bring that up. Here's a therapy. I think this was a PT or this was an OT assessment here. You can see my getting ready for it. And here's some proposed speech goals. Again, I have notes in here ready to discuss at the IEP. And something I almost always do is I get all my other documents together that I might want to talk about. I have a resource file, but let's say I'm going into an IEP and a child with dyslexia. I almost always have the California Dyslexia Guidelines right here, right next to me, ready to talk about in the IEP. And one of the main really interesting positive things to be about OneNote is that it's all searchable. So we have this little search bar, and let me think about a good search term that's not too big, but let's say, what would be in here? I'm blanking on a good search term that would be not so easy, but
you want to say, I don't know, fine motor or what? You're in the dyslexia.
How about I do assisted technology here?
Okay.
I'm trying to think of something not too hard to find, but that you wouldn't find on every page.
Right.
So here we go. We see exactly all the places that it comes up on the left-hand side. And then under here, you can change it to all notebooks, the current notebook, the current section, or the current page. So you can really hone in on your search, right? Where exactly you want your search to be. There's another really neat thing that's beyond our scope today is these tags that you could really get really fancy with. It's beyond our scope today, but it would be really good. So for my daughter's IEP, I want to always have about diplomas and graduation requirements. And then also almost every IEP that I go into, I want to have the bulletin on behavior support that, it's almost never filed, but I would like to have a copy of that right in the notebook. And I often have the district handbook right away. The way I do it, and I'll just show you, is that I have it in my in another notebook, right? And I have a whole section of all the LUSD bulletins that I use frequently. So I have one here on low incidence funding. Let's say, that could be an issue in some IEPs. I'll just go to that bulletin, right click it, and I have a few options, but let's say I want to copy it to the page, right? So I want to go back here, find my notebook, find my bulletins, and I'm going to make a copy of it. So now when we go back to Sally, you can see it's working, and here's my bulletin on low incidence funding. Another really nice thing is being able to link all these pages. All the pages become a URL, basically. So I started this last night. Here's my outline of all the documents that I have reviewed before the IEP. So if you see, I have the PWN dated 10/8, then I have the OT progress report, and then the proposed OT goals. And the next thing is the RT assessment. So you go over to this RT assessment. I have my mouse on it. I'm going to right click it. And if you see right here, I move down to copy link to page. I press that. I go back to my outline, and then I paste it. And there's that. So now if I click on that PT assessment, it's going to take me right to the page. You can even do actual different places on the page. So I have my PT assessment. Now I want my rec therapy page, which I think, so then we go back to our outline, and I put that in, and my speech goals. And this might be the page right here that I take my notes on for my IEP, because there's my outline. And then maybe I want to write my notes right here. Notes, IEP, when did we say it? Like 5/1/19, and then I can start my notes. Now let me show you this really amazing thing about taking notes. I tried to do a little sample here last night. We'll see if it works. But so one really neat feature of OneNote is that you can actually go back to this note page where I was. Here is, if you go to insert, I sort of showed you this before, there's this insert audio button, and that allows you to record audio that's going on, and also for you to take notes. And what it does is that it links the audio with your notes. And for whatever notes you were writing during the time in the audio, it records it, and you can go back afterwards and listen to it. So I tried this last night, and this is so this is a short audio, so it doesn't work as great when I was doing it. But you can see here's the audio, and I was also trying to take notes and talk at the same time when I was doing this, so it was a little bit difficult. So here's my conclusion. Right now, you see where I wrote conclusion. You see this little button, this play button. I'm going to press that, and that is going to be the audio from when I wrote the word conclusion.
The most remarkable teacher.
Okay,
we are going to work on concluding this IEP. We really enjoy the team's effort.
Okay, so then you can see how that was, and we can, go up, if you could hear that. Could you hear that, Charmaine?
Yes, cool.
So we could go up to where it says introductions, right? And I could press there, and we can hear the audio.
Is administrator from the district. And we will be beginning this.
So, and I think you can get the idea is that how powerful this could be for IEPs, and you can go back through and really listen to the notes that you have made and the actual conversation. So a few sort of precautions and caveats to this. Number one, you need to check your recording laws in your state. My state is a two-party state, and we have to give 24 hours notice to record an IEP. And each state is different, so you need to make sure you check your state's recording laws to make sure that you aren't running afoul of any recording laws. Two, this system in OneNote is not perfect, and it doesn't work all the time. It probably works about 80% of the time, and I think it has like about a 2-hour maximum. So what I do not recommend making OneNote your primary way of OneNote of recording the IEP for any purposes you might need later. It's just a sort of like your notes, not for don't count on it. What I actually do is I always have my computer at the IEP, so I have a voice recorder app here. So I record in this voice recorder app, as well as OneNote. It works really well. OneNote also, I think it has about a 2-hour, or maybe, I don't know, an hour, and then it'll stop. So you will have to sort of stop recording periodically.
Right, because we know we sit for more than 1 hour in those IEP
let's see, other, OneNote has a really nice web clipping ability. I don't, let's see, I don't use it so much, but it is actually, let me see, I think I have it over here. It is a nice way to get information into OneNote. Let me just see, I'm just trying to find something interesting here. Let's see, so if I saw something on my screen here, you know, I think I took off, I had it, I don't have it anymore because I didn't use it too often, but there's a nice web clipping and it'll actually put the web page into it with a URL, which works really nicely. I find that I like to generally print it out, but everyone's different. Oh, a really other nice thing also that I do frequently, I'm a big copy and paster. So let's go back to Charmaine's email that she sent me. And let's say I didn't want to print the email, I might copy the information, right? And I Control C. I go back to, we had this over in our Sam the student, and we had this in notes. And let's say I just wanted to put the notes here, that email. I'm going to paste it in here, and it actually makes a URL here down at the bottom from my my Gmail. So I can just press on that, and I assume, since it's nice URL, that it'll actually go back to that if I needed to. So it has, I mean, it has a lot of capacities that, you know, I don't use everything, but it really has a lot of nice capacities. Let me just look here. Obviously, also it has capacities outside just keeping your special education documents. You can keep, a lot of people use it as a planner, like a bullet journal, and just I keep like all my tax receipts in there, or my medical receipts. It's it also has the mobile version is really nice, and you can also, you know, take pictures of things and put it in OneNote. Another really nice feature of OneNote is this sharing option. So let's say I wanted to share the notebook with Charmaine. I could put Charmaine's email address and she can see it. And I've had families that have had OneNote folders, and they'll just share the whole OneNote folder with me. And it's amazing because then I have everything right there. We don't have to send things back and forth. I don't have to do a records request. It's all right, shared immediately.
Yes, and your advocate and attorney will love you if you have an organized OneNote folder, because really that cuts down so much on the time and the, you know, the charges that you're going to have from somebody helping you. So as parents, if you can take some time this summer to play with OneNote, and I'll be sending out training notes, and it will have some links for some YouTube films, you know, videos about using OneNote, so you can go through those too. And that will just be like such a gift that you give yourself when you go to your first IEP meeting and you have all these things organized. I love, like, yesterday, I think, or the day before, Melissa and I were talking, and Melissa, if you want to talk about the example when somebody brings up like, oh, I'm not sure what the speech goals were for last year, and like how those kind of practical things are.
Yeah, no, if I'm the fastest person in the room to find anything. There's always a question, oh, what was the service level of speech last year or 2 years ago? And I have everything at my fingertips, and I touch it on my screen, I go boom, 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 and I just scroll over it to it with my finger, and I say, oh, it's, whatever it was, 60 minutes. And I'm definitely the fastest person in the room. You can see how amazing it would be for mediations or hearings, because you just have everything right at your fingertips, and you can have it all linked up. For sure I'm the fastest one in the room. There's no way you can't be faster with paper. There's no way. And I've gotten so used to, reading on my screen. And of course, just everything takes practice. But now I can't look at a paper copy because I never feel comfortable highlighting and making pen marks on the original. So I can do whatever I want. I can write whatever snarky comment I want on OneNote. No one else can see it, right? I can make my realies and my explanation points and I don't believe you. This doesn't make any sense type of thing. Or my favorite is winner, right? You always find those things in these documents. I can't believe you wrote that. But it's right there. And then inevitably those remarks that you've written or you've questioned or you don't understand come up again and again. So, if they'll say, oh, what about, the psychoed assessments didn't say that, didn't say that the child was having any trouble with transitions. And you've marked in your psychoed assessment that trouble with transitions and an example. So you're right there. Last year's assessment, you click it, you scroll up, and you see the notes that you've written that says an underlined trouble with transitions. So it's just, and I guess you could just even think about it. You could just even you could just search it, which would be a really good way to see, oh, where did transitions come up? You said no trouble with transitions. Well, let's search the last 3 IEPs and see if transitions came up and what we said.
Yeah, I can just see this as, not only kind of the peace of mind of feeling and being organized with all the paperwork, but just that being a more effective parent participating in the meeting, because you have at your fingertips all of these things. And if there's a question, you can go to the state regs document and you can pull that up. And so to remind people that you can use this on a computer, and because it's Microsoft, it was originally developed for Windows, but you can also use it on a Mac, which I use. And
great on an iPad also.
The iPad. And I think that would be the really nice one, because you could have that pen for the iPad. I don't know if there's any kind of, if people watching can let us know if there's any kind of app for a pen on a Mac. I don't know. I could look that up, but for the iPad, for sure, then you could be scrolling, looking at your documents, looking at that draft IEP that you requested, and start making notes, writing questions. So when you get to the IEP meeting, all you have to do is look at your iPad, and you can go in order of that draft IEP and go through each section, getting clarification, suggesting different wording, all those kinds of things. So I just am excited as an advocate, because I have so many families that I work with, that this would be so helpful. And I can save trees, right? I don't have to put everything out.
Yeah, for me, I often also have a nice scanner, right, which is scanning capacity. A dedicated scanner is amazing, right, and it can scan things very quickly and double-sided. Obviously our phones can work, a lot of our printers work, but if you really have a huge box of documents that you want to work on, a dedicated scanner would be probably helpful in that situation.
Yeah, so I want to remind people watching us live and also on the replay that if you type OneNote in the chat box below, I'll put together a summary of our show and the links that we've been talking about for additional trainings, for, information on the iPad pen, just different links like that. So you'll be getting those emailed to you next Tuesday. But if you'd like that, just type OneNote in the chat box.
Yeah, and the last thing is that OneNote is essentially free, right? I mean, it's essentially free, especially for parents. There's a 5 gigabyte limit, but for the most part, that should be fine for personal use. And if you needed more, it's a pretty nominal fee to actually get more storage. So,
right. So yeah, Melissa had shown or had talked to me because if you're an advocate using it, you might need extra storage. You only have to pay $70 a year, and you'll get additional storage. Or if it's just a little bit of storage beyond the 5 gigs, you can pay just $1.99 a month, and you can get additional storage that way. So it really is a helpful thing. I think, our priority, in our show today is talking about organizing all your special ed paperwork and documents and progress notes and all those things that we get. But I mean, you can use it to plan your family vacation. Lots of other uses for it too. And I wanted to show Melissa's contact information. If you want to go to her website, it's amsterlawfirm.com. And again, she is a special education attorney in California, centered in Los Angeles. So I encourage, there are other resources on Melissa's website. So as a parent, I think it's always nice to be able to have another place to go for information. So I encourage you to check out her website. And Melissa, do you have any closing words or helpful tips of, the other thing I was thinking of was how we talked about, it really is helpful if you can get the school and the district to email you documents versus then having to scan them.
Yeah. I always, whenever I ask for documents, I ask by email. Sometimes they give you a little bit of pushback and say, "Oh, it's not our policy," and it's always a good advocacy tip to say, "Well, can I see that policy? Right? Is it written?" And most of the time, it's not written. It's just sort of, I can't do it. Sometimes they want a fax, right? But a fax, my faxes just come to my inbox, so they're really not anything different. But generally I ask for an email. I don't get a problem. And then I can just shoot it all over to OneNote very quickly. And I can go through a file. I can go through a couple IEPs very quickly now. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's such a time saver. So, and the replay will be up in our Facebook group on my Visions and Voices Together page. So if you want to come back and watch the video again and pause at different places and try it out for yourself, that will be available for you right when we end the broadcast. You can go back and watch the replay. So thank you, Melissa. I'm excited because it's like, I want to be more organized and less, like file cabinets full of paper copies.
I have actually very little paper files. So, or I have paper files that are in the back garage, knowing that I don't need them. Really,
right.
Maybe I don't throw them away, but they're not in my house. They're in the back garage, and only if I need them, then I go get them. But everything's on the computer, so I don't have to. But I look forward to hearing how this goes for you, Charmaine. I'm excited for you to be able to get this organized, and I want to hear about your first IEP going in there and seeing how it actually works.
No, they'll be impressed.
Your back will thank you. You don't have to lug notebooks to IEPs anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I've had parents have those little carts, on wheels where they have to lug in lots of binders. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very helpful tool. And like I said, it can help us work smarter, not harder. Exactly. So thank you, Melissa, for being with us. And if you have additional questions, type them in and, we can I can always come back and answer those. So know that the conversation can keep going. Next Thursday, I wanted to tell you we have somebody else from California, Stephen Hinkle, who is a disability rights advocate, and is an autistic individual who now is going for his PhD at Chapman College. And Stephen, a lot of you might have heard him speak before. He's going to be talking next Thursday about changing the traditional transition model that so many students have, which really isn't the most individualized or appropriate transition program. So Stephen's going to be talking about a new way of looking at transition services for students 18 to 21. So that'll be exciting. One of my goals is to continue to have more self-advocates on because they're the voice that we need to be listening to, right? So I am Charmaine Tanner. Thank you for being with us today, and we shall see you next Thursday. Take care.
Bye.